Welcome to Hotline TV, everybody. I'm John Mercurio. We have with us today our resident Southern expert, Dan Rome. Dan Rome, thanks for joining the show.
Howdy, sir.
Dan's here to talk about those fundamentally Southern things, runoff elections. All the attention in the next 2 weeks is going to be going to the South Carolina Republican gubernatorial primary runoff, and deservingly so. But the little noticed North Carolina Senate runoff also happens to be the same day, June 22nd. The Arkansas Senate runoff results may be able to tell us a little something about how those races are going to shake out, or maybe not. Who knows? But Dan, let's go through all three of those runoffs. This is our runoff special we've been waiting for. A lot of people have been writing in. They wanted us to have this show for months. Let's go through these three big Senate runoffs, Arkansas Senate, or these three big runoffs. Tell us a little bit about what happened on Tuesday night in Arkansas.
Arkansas Senate, first off, you know, you got to expect the unexpected when you do have a non-jeopardized incumbent through scandal. What we're talking about here, in particular with, I think in the case of Lincoln, is you do have someone who's well established. She has a base in Arkansas 1. You know, she's already well known in 2. She's been out there for a long time. It shouldn't come across that she was a fighter on this stuff. Now, it's not like, you know, you have the Arlen Specter case where, oh, she's just being opportunist switching in. She's had pretty much the same voting record. You know, her voting record now is consistent with what it has been. Angered, you know, the left for maybe inconsistent stands, or because they'll say, oh, well, you know, she's the one that killed off, you know, public option and things like that. Well, that's still not exactly atypical of Southern Democrats.
Well, plus, I think the fact that the unions decided to get in so strongly behind Halter gave her the perfect message. They became the perfect foil. She knew this was a year of the outsider. She needed to find a way for her to become the outsider, and she did that by saying, I'm fighting against these Washington, D.C. special interests. That kind of message resonates
though there's
in Arkansas.
One little catch with that, though. You can say, I'm going to fight against these Washington special interests, and then be backed by the entire Washington establishment.
Sure.
Where you have the president, you have Obama, you have Biden, you've got, you know, Mark Pryor, and, you know, even though Bill Clinton, everyone else says, oh, he's the most, you know, potent and popular Democrat in Arkansas, let's face it, that's still Washington establishment.
All right, let's go South Carolina. All right, South Carolina, June 22nd. Nikki Haley basically won that primary last night. I mean, it was just a couple thousand votes that kept her away from actually winning it outright. Now she faces a runoff against Gresham Barrett, a congressman. The Republican Gubernatorial Association, Republican Governors Association, basically came out last night and endorsed her. And in some ways, I think you're going to be seeing a lot of pressure on Barrett to get out.
Well, the line was the runoff notwithstanding. So you know what that ends up doing? That gives Barrett a cause to celebrate, which I'm sure is a very often used phrase down in South Carolina. Where he's going to now say, you know what, even though I'm a representative, Washington's against me. Everyone's against me now. Now I get to run against the establishment.
That's true. That's true.
And then you'll look at, you know, in Nikki Haley's case where you've had very big names who have come out for her. Gresham Barrett also has, you know, in his case, I think he had Dick Cheney, you know, as one of his endorsements. And, you know, and it's not like he's this unknown guy. But this is also the fight that I think that he's been waiting for a while, because Haley was clobbering him prior to the whole Will Folks thing, just saying, oh, he's too moderate, he voted for TARP, XYZ, the Tea Party booed him. So watch for him. He has nothing to lose.
Interesting.
Could be dangerous.
North Carolina, all right, Marshall, we've got Elaine Marshall, Secretary of State, running against Cal Cunningham, sort of the Washington insider, even though he doesn't serve here in Washington. He's the choice of the DSCC, but it looks like she's actually the front runner, right?
Elaine has momentum.
Elaine, he's on like first name basis with her. That's awesome.
We go back a little ways. You got to look at this. She has Ken Lewis in her corner now.
Yes, she does. Who ran in the primary?
Right. He was third place, but it came out very strongly for her. You can tell in his endorsement of her and the things that he was saying about Cunningham that he just didn't trust Cunningham. He saw him as more that typical politician type. Yet, you know, I talked to just, you know, not even political folk, just friends of mine in North Carolina who went out and voted, and they're saying, well, I'm voting for Cal Cunningham. Why? Swan. He can beat Richard Burr. She can't.
Well, that's what it comes down to. Sometimes that's the most effective argument. In a competitive race, it's electability.
This is a guy who has just one of the best resumes that I think if you're at the DSCC, you can draft up. You know, he's Iraq War veteran. Even though
Or is he?
Or dun dun dun.
Is he pulling a Blumenthal? No, he's not. We have no reason to believe that.
No,
We don't
he was a JAG officer, more or less. So it's not like he was combat guy, and he's not going to say, "Well, I was out shooting people and stuff." But he is credible. That's the thing to get across here. Also comes across very well on television. Good family.
Sounds like you're endorsing him right here.
I think I am not endorsing him right here. I am telling you that this is a race where low turnout election, where you have variables at play. She has momentum, but he shouldn't be counted out.
Good. All right. Good stuff. Let's move on to the next section of our show today. One of my favorite sections of the show, one of my favorite segments, the bandwagon segment. All right. We got a couple of big players. I got to jump on and I got to jump off one of them. It's been a big week for Bill Clinton in Arkansas, his home state. A lot of people since he left in 1992 have been talking about how unpopular he is. There's been polls done that show he would have lost to Mike Huckabee. That his favorability rating in his home state is so low. Hillary Clinton obviously would never have won that state if she'd run for president. And yet, it was Bill Clinton who Blanche Lincoln relied heavily upon in this runoff to put her over the top. It worked. She relied more on him, frankly, than she did on Barack Obama, and she probably will continue to do that heading into November. Does Bill Clinton become a much more popular surrogate in some of these southern states, these rural districts, where Barack Obama is very unpopular right now? I say yes, I jump on his bandwagon. So who are you on?
Well, I gotta agree with you on Bubba, no doubt. Sarah Palin's coming out, and
Speaking of Bubba.
It seems that recently, at least, candidates that she's going for, especially in Nikki Haley's case, go to this magic rise. Mitt Romney made the endorsement of Haley, and she didn't take off. Palin did, and then she did the commercial with her too, and started fighting for her viciously when they started, or when all the attacks started coming, and Nikki went up like that in a very quick fashion. And on the way down, though, Mr. Rawls in South Carolina Senate losing to a fella, Mr. Rawls, ex-judge, losing to a fella who does not actually have a job at the present time.
Well, he's trying to get a job. That's what a lot of people out there unemployed can't hold that against them, but they're trying to get a job.
Senate pays 6 figures. I think that that is a great employment opportunity.
There you
go. Should go for it.
So you're going off his. I'm jumping staying in South Carolina. I got to jump off Andre Bauer's job bandwagon. It was quite a bandwagon. It had quite a ride. At a time, at the beginning of this South Carolina governor's primary, he was actually a front runner, the sitting lieutenant governor. People wanted him to take over for Mark Sanford if he had been forced to resign. And at this point, what, he placed 3rd or 4th? I can't even remember. I think he was actually 4th to McMaster. He was sort of tangled up in the whole rumors, the allegations against Haley and her extramarital affairs. I'm sorry, Andre Bauer. I'm jumping off your bandwagon.
Gotta go.
All right. Really quickly, we have a television ad. The television ad of the week that we are excited about the most. Actually, this is, I think, from last week. It's Nikki Haley's ad. She was faced with these rumors or allegations of extramarital affairs. This is how she responded.
I've seen the dark side of our state's politics, and I know the bright side of our state's people. I have a vision of what South Carolina can be, with a strong, growing economy, with schools that work for our children, with a conservative government that's accountable and doesn't waste our tax dollars. I'm Nikki Haley, and this is my husband, Michael. I would be deeply honored to serve as your governor. Together, we can take back our government.
It's effective, I think, frankly, to do this, and it obviously worked out well for her in the primary. I think what we're looking at here, and why we're also fascinated with Nikki Haley and this rumors of the extramarital affairs, is that it's the first time I can recall a front-running candidate for a statewide office who is a woman having to handle the issues of extramarital affairs. It's unprecedented, and it's interesting to see her using her husband, or profiling or highlighting her husband in the same way that men do with their wives.
Right, and a while back there was a forum here in D.C. That was featuring some of the women senators. You had Kirsten Gillibrand, Kay Bailey Hutchinson, a couple others, and the question was posed to them: why is it that women are never in these positions? And Gillibrand was like, we don't have time for this. We have kids to raise, and we've got Senate seats to occupy. We don't have time for this stuff. So, because that's still new terrain, that's just a little extra bit of credibility issues that folks like Will Folks are going to have when they're making allegations against her.
That's very true, and I think we saw that. We definitely saw that with this ad. But unfortunately, Dan, thanks for dropping by here on Hotline TV. But
Thanks for the invite.
We are just about out of time for today. So until next time, we'll see you on Hotline TV.